We're continuing to follow one of our top stories. Multiple sources now telling CNN Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did not give the White House a heads up before authorizing a pause on weapons shipments to Ukraine last week. With Hegseth at his side, President Trump said yesterday the U.S. will be resuming those shipments to Ukraine, suggesting he was not responsible for the pause.
Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. What did you tell me?
I want to discuss that and much more right now with the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Leader Jeffries, thanks so much for joining us. What do you think? What does this say about the relationship between President Trump and the defense secretary?
Pete Hegseth is the most unqualified defense secretary in American history. He undermines the ability of the Department of Defense to keep the American people safe. And Donald Trump should fire him, or Pete Hegseth should tender his resignation. That's been clear and apparent for months. And it's shocking to me that this charade continues to go on. Ukraine is an ally. Russia is a sworn enemy of the United States of America. And when you limit Ukraine's ability to be successful in the war of aggression that Russia has launched against a sovereign country, you undermine America's national security interests, and that's highly problematic.
Very strong words. Very strong words, I should just say. Trump says he's now considering supporting a bill in the Senate that would impose punishing sanctions on Russia. Leader Jeffries, what do you make of the president's change in tone against Russia and Vladimir Putin, for that matter? And do you expect that this sanctions bill, will ultimately come up for a vote?
There's strong and bipartisan support for sanctions against Vladimir Putin and Russia. And it's unfortunate that the Trump administration has spent months playing footsie with Vladimir Putin, and some would suggest bending the knee to an enemy of this country. This war of aggression that Russia has launched against Ukraine is clear. It's not just about territorial integrity. It's a battle between democracy and autocracy, between freedom and tyranny, between truth and propaganda. And the United States of America should always stand on the side of democracy and freedom and truth. That means standing on the side of Ukraine until victory is won.
So you would support these sanctions if, in fact, they're passed?
Certainly need to take a look at the specifics of the sanctions, but I am a strong supporter of continuing to escalate and intensify the sanctions that have been previously put into place relative to Russia until they back down and, withdraw from Ukraine and create a situation where Ukraine's sovereignty can be restored and the killing of innocent civilians stops, including the killing of Ukrainian children that have been targeted by Russia and Vladimir Putin.
And the Russians are now launching a record number of drones and other missiles against various civilian targets in Ukraine as we speak right now. I want to turn, while I have you, Leader Jeffries, to the president's major policy bill that he signed into law on July 4th. All congressional Democrats, of course, voted against it. What's your biggest concern right now about the impact this legislation, which is now the law, he signed it into law, will have?
Donald Trump's one big ugly law hurts everyday Americans all across the country and rewards billionaires. It's an unprecedented assault on the health care of the American people. Hospitals will close, including in rural America. Nursing homes will shut down. Community-based health clinics will no longer be able to operate. And as a result of so many people losing coverage in different ways, people are going to die all across this country. This bill also rips food away from the mouths of children. And all of this is being done to reward their billionaire donors. And by the way, it's also going to set us on a course toward possibly bankrupting the nation by adding trillions of dollars to America's debt, which is already far too high. We're going to tattoo this law on the foreheads of every single House Republican who voted against the best interests of the people that they represent in doing the bidding of supporting this bill and continuing to rubber stamp Donald Trump's extreme agenda.
Your fellow Democrats have signaled they intend to make the Medicaid cuts, and there are enormous Medicaid cuts in this new law, a key issue in next year's midterm elections. But the bill was designed so that those cuts won't actually happen until after the midterm elections. Given that, Leader Jeffries, will this bill really have as big of an impact on the midterms as some Democrats are saying?
Well, this is not about politics, it's about policy, and Republicans have supported a policy which involves the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. And by setting this massive cut into motion, it lays the conditions for the collapse of the Medicaid system in many ways. So this is a big challenge. And also, Wolf, it's important to recognize that this bill also will rip coverage away from millions of Americans because of changes that were made to the Affordable Care Act. It also goes after Medicare, possibly a cut that could be set into motion by more than $500 billion. And it also represents an attack on the Children's Health Insurance Program and on Planned Parenthood. So it's an all-out assault on health care, and it is going to have real consequences for the American people, and that will be felt in many ways immediately.
Many of your Democratic colleagues are facing angry voters back in their districts. According to Axios, some are even being told they need to be more willing to go out there and get shot when fighting. That was a direct quote, get shot when fighting back against some of Trump's policies. One House Democrat saying, quote, and I'll read it to you, "Our own base is telling us that what we're doing is not good enough. There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public." How do you respond to that, Leader Jeffries? Are Democrats not meeting the moment, not doing enough to fight these developments?
Well, we are in a more is more environment in terms of the unprecedented assault on the American way of life and our country that has been launched by Donald Trump and compliant House Republicans. More speeches, more rallies, more protests, more sit-ins, more press conferences, more town hall meetings in Democratic districts and Republican districts. We're in a more is more environment, and we'll continue to lean in aggressively. At the same period of time, we also are going to span out across the country and talk to the American people about our affirmative vision for making their life better. Imagine a country where everyone can afford to live the good life, a good paying job, good health care, good housing, good education for your children, and a good retirement. That's what Democrats are working hard to bring about. When you work hard in America and when you play by the rules, you should be able to afford to live the good life. And far too many people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. That's unacceptable in the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
Leader Jeffries, I also want to talk to you about Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor in New York City. CNN has new reporting that some progressives who empowered Mamdani to victory now want to primary you and other Democrats in New York City. The co-chair of New York City's Democratic Socialists of America says he thinks you're picking fights, quote, with the left instead of focusing on fighting the right, his words. Asked whether Mamdani thinks those House incumbent challenges should happen, his press secretary told CNN he was declining to comment, at least for now. How do you respond?
I have no idea what these people are talking about. We are going to continue to focus our efforts as we did on the House floor in connection with Donald Trump's one big ugly bill on pushing back against the extremism that has been unleashed on the American people. It's clear to us as House Democrats, it's clear to us as members of the New York City delegation that the problem is Donald Trump and House Republicans who have launched this unprecedented assault on the American way of life, an assault on health care. They're ripping food out of the mouths of children, veterans, and seniors. They're exploding the national debt. They're unleashing mass agents on law-abiding immigrant communities. It shouldn't be too difficult for some people to figure out who the problem is in the United States of America.
The Democratic leader, the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, thanks as usual for joining us.